All right, welcome to City and County with your boy Big J. This is our season premiere right here on AHRR Network. Excited to be back. A lot of fun stuff today. We have one of the best political strategists, just know all guys in the house, HASHIM COATS. We also got a segment, The Head Says, which is brand new. So we're going to get right into it and bring my man HASHIM the Dim Coates on right now. Thank you for joining us, my man.
My pleasure. Glad to be here.
Well, thank you. We were supposed to do this last week. We had major technical difficulties, and we got you this week. So thank you for bearing with me and coming on and making some time for us today.
My pleasure.
So before we get into it, tell everybody who you are. I know they see you around. They see you with a lot of big wigs and political figures. So tell everybody who HASHIM COATS is.
All right. So HASHIM COATS, Colorado native, George Washington High School graduate, Navy veteran, Metro State Roadrunner as well, and a member of Alpha Phi Fraternity Incorporated. That's a little background. I am a political consultant, political strategist. I help manage campaigns, organize campaigns, and I am really heavy also within the Democratic Party as well. I have short glimpse of the resume. Out of all current of the 7 school board members of Denver Public School Board, I have helped them achieve their seat in one way or the other, from managing to consulting. I have also helped win races that have been basically uphill battles as it relates to beating big dollars. I helped I managed Stephen Woodrow's race for House District 6. I am currently the campaign manager for Wanda James for CU Region, and I also serve as the executive director of Black, Brown, Red Badge, which represents the Black and Brown business owners inside of the cannabis industry.
Wow. Like, I thought I did a lot, but I mean,
You do, man.
It's just extensive. That resume is extensive. You do a lot of great things with a lot of great people. How did you get into the political strategy and being Hashim the Dim?
All right. So it kind of winds back to when I was a kid. My grandmother was an election judge. And so every election cycle, she would go set up the big voting machines where you would pull the handle and push down the button, all that type of stuff for voting. And so that was kind of fascinating to me. She was also involved as it relates to Ari Taylor's race when Ari Taylor ran to become a House rep. So it started there. My mom was also chair of the Park Hill Neighborhood Association. So these little seeds were planted, but it really hit me when I returned home from the Navy, and I came out and I started meeting people, and these people started transitioning like from life into the next step, and they started dying of complications of HIV and AIDS. So I got my start. I was like, something has to be done. So I think that was the spark that lit within me to get involved as it relates to advocacy and policy work. And from there, it just blossomed into this now.
Hashim, the Dim Coach, joins us right here on City and County. Now you kind of taken that and as you said, you've helped some major political figures gain their seats. And let's talk about the school board, because you said you had all 7.
Yeah. So from managing all the way down to consulting. I didn't manage all 7 races, but I helped contribute to all 7 races.
Well, what I hear is that there's issues with the school board and them not getting along. What do you know about that? And because you have kind of helped all of these people, are you able to bridge some of these gaps?
I don't know if I'm able to bridge the gaps, but I can definitely say that these are 7 passionate people, and they all care about education for the kids in one way, shape, or the other. And I think they have more in common than they have not in common. And I think that they get hung up on the little things and they focus on that a lot. And it creates a lot of personality. We have their personality issues. And so that's what creates some of the distractions. I would say that it is a functioning board that, if people look for there to be a perfect number of 7 on every single issue like the last board did, I think that's where the problem starts. There, even within our families and even within ourselves, there's sometimes that we have disagreement where we don't agree where we were or where we are on certain things. And I think that's what's happening with the board. But I think there's a majority of the board who are more or equal of or closer to the same mindset than there are of those who are not.
Yeah, we're going to talk a lot about the board and the DPS coming up. One of the major things that we've been dealing with over the past couple of weeks, and we can throw the school board in there, is youth violence. A lot of stuff has been happening near schools. Let's say we won't say on schools, because I know that's a major pushback from the DPS schools. But I can say what I want to say, and you might as well say that these shootings were on campuses, right? I mean. Right. Carla Madison, I can throw a rock from the front door east to Carla Madison, and where we had a shooting outside of MLK was, a couple blocks away also. I think the question that I asked you last week that we couldn't get into is, does the DPS care about the safety of our kids? Do they really do?
So I'm not a representative of DPS, but from knowing what I know, I would say verbally they care, but I mean, I'm always brought to that thing of when I was being raised as a child, actions speak louder than words. So you can't say that you care about something if you aren't doing the things that it takes to do. Was a Baldwin that says, I can't believe what you say because I see what you do. And if we have our kids that are suffering the ultimate suffrage, right? I mean, they have these loss of life. And then if they're suffering from learning loss, where Black kids kids of color, and specifically Black kids, are disproportionately affected, and the learning gap is so wide, and these are the building block foundations, if they aren't doing something intentional to undo the intentional harms, then I would say no.
Well, I mean, just based on, and I know you like you said, you're not connected to the school board, but I mean, just we all have our own opinions with this, and working with the schools and doing work in the schools as we do, I would say they don't really care about the safety and security of our students, which is paramount, you would think, to a successful education of a child, because if a child doesn't feel safe, he's not gonna learn to his fullest potential. And I think if you look at what's going on in our schools, and it's not with every student, it's a percentage, but there's a lot of kids at schools that are scared, and they're exhibiting these different behaviors with bringing weapons to school or not doing as well as they can. And I think being afraid of what's going to happen is a major part of that. How do you feel about that?
So I look at, I'm a criminal justice major, and so the criminal justice system is basically the toilet bowl of society where everybody sticks their issues in to hope to get fixed. I think that the school system is the next step, right? If the criminal justice system is the toilet bowl, I think that the school system is the urinal. And everyone hopes that the school is supposed to fix it. And so it gets to be really complex because we have people who are trained and hired to teach. And I don't know if they're necessarily trained and hired to social work or to be psychologists and psychiatrists. So when we look at the violence, we have to approach it from a different standpoint. Yes, schools should be Switzerland. Schools should be the safe haven where kids come to learn. But when you have outside factors, or whatever those factors are, where they range from hunger, extreme poverty, overt racism, to violence, all that stuff, and we funnel all these kids into the same space, yikes, that's where we have an issue. Right. So as much as we want DPS to be on the hook, cool, keep them there. But we need to apply 4 hooks into the city and county of Denver, and then we need to apply 10 hooks into the state of Colorado, and then we need to apply 1,000 hooks into the United States government, the federal government. Because all of those things work together, and the traumas and the burdens and the societal issues are put on our kids and sent to school, and we expect for these people whose brains are basically still soft mush to learn and to push through, and that's what's nuts to me.
Right. I think we are asking these kids to be way more mature and older than they really need to be, and that's because of our shortcomings, and that's how we're handling things in the school, in the schools period. And when we talk about safety and the security of our students, when we went to school way back when, and I'm way older than you.
Yes, you are.
There was, if a kid brought a gun to school, that was like the unicorn. Like, it was like, wait, what are you doing? Like, why? Like, you're outlaw. Like, what are you doing? And so nowadays, it's not like that. It's everybody is bringing a pistol. I won't say everybody, but there's a lot of guns in schools. And we had a meeting with Ayante and Scott Esserman yesterday over at Brother Jeff's, and we talked about the security and the problems of guns being on campus. And when I talk about schools and doing some of those things that I do on a daily basis, there's between 5 and 10 guns at least. And this is every school that I go to. It's not just one school, it's every school. How do we solve that problem?
Well, shit. So it's not a teacher. Teachers have a small responsibility as it relates to that. Administrators and the DPS have a small issue as it relates to that. But everyone that cares needs to actually be reaching out to their local representatives, their city council people, their state house reps, their state senators, and the governor, right? I mean, and the mayor, it needs to follow these lines because we have a gun issue in America. There are more guns in America than there are people.
I mean, that
more guns than people.
Right.
And that blows my mind because legally, you're not supposed to be able to have a gun rifle at 18, but a gun, let's say 21, right? 21 all the way up So basically, when you start having some issues of degenerative health issues, like there are far more guns in America than the people that are supposed to have guns. And if we don't address that issue, if we don't address the issue of gun acquirement, then this problem is going to continue. So, and I have to say, if you're afraid, not you, but like if people are afraid to address gun issues, then we need to address societal issues. We have never approached issues as it relates to non-white people and specifically Black people from a social economical standpoint, right? Now, if a parent could work one job and provide for their child or children, right, from working one job, then that parent can do the parenting things that are necessary to do once that child leaves school. But we have it where people can't afford to live, where the cost of living is absurd and disgusting. And so you have a parent that is or parents that are working multiple jobs. Who's there to really provide the infrastructure to the children? And we expect the teachers to do that. What about the teachers that have kids? Right? So it's just, we're not approaching this properly. And frustration, passion, and ignorance is causing us not to approach it properly. And those who are not affected by this, those who benefit from our dysfunction, from our pain, from our violence, they're like, we don't care.
Like, how do we get here though? Like, I mean, it used to be, even in our day, the kids were number one on everybody's list, where their parents' list or the people who were taking care of them, kids were number one on that list. We have to make sure that the kids are okay. And so now it seems like kids have kind of, now it's job, it's social life, it's everything else. And kids are, I think we're starting to feel the effects of that. I also think that this is the first generation of children, especially here in Denver, that we have, kind of seen with the effects of gentrification, right? Where, like you were saying, parents have to work and work and work and work to be able to afford to live in the city. So what happens? Those kids are unsupervised. And then when you get home, parents can't be parents because then they have to do everything else, taking care of the house, all the other kids in there. So you sit kids in front of the TV and let them watch videos and movies and whatever. And then they're starting to play video games that have violent images and doing violent things along with those videos. And I think these kids have been desensitized to everything that's going on right now because a lot of these kids think you can press a reset button and bring that guy back. But, that doesn't happen. So how can we get the mental health and the mentality of these families together where it's going to benefit these kids and these schools? That was a lot.
It sounds like, no, it is a lot. And maybe I'm oversimplifying it. Maybe I sound like a one-trick pony, but it relates to those who manage our tax dollars, those who are in position of creating policy and legislation. They're the ones, right? And it's not just your board members and it's not just your city council people. If we want, Colorado is so low on the bottom of as it relates to education funding, education scoring, that it blows my mind. Like, this is the Mecca. I mean, they say it's Wakanda for white people, but it is a Mecca for class and for whiteness here once people have their graduate degrees. But as far as the society that it relates to obtaining the high school diploma, it seems that they don't care. And so while it's politics, man. Like, I'm just going to simplify it and just say it's politics. We are in an election season right now. Ballots will be mailed out a month from now. Actually, less than a month. October 17th in Colorado, ballots will be mailed out. It's one step. And I also think that the other part of that is that people need to vote their interest, and they need to understand we did not get into this situation overnight. We're not getting out of it overnight. We can expedite the process by continuing to vote our values and not our dreams that one day I will be rich and I don't want the government to tax my $1 million a year income. I need to do what it's going to take for me to do right now until I reach that $1 million a year income. and vote that way and actively engage that way. And I admit, like, it's a lot to learn on a ballot, but go to a trusted source. I am the trusted source for some people.
Right.
Sometimes I know when ballots hit the mailbox because my text messages and my phone call, like, there'll be an increase of people like, hey, Hashim, what do I vote for? And I'm like, okay, hold on, like, give me a sec. And that's throughout the state. I get those type of information or those type of requests.
So, we're talking about the schools, and Hashim Coates joins us right here on City and County, and we're talking about the Denver Public Schools and safety and security of our students. Another issue is the equity. Now, when we talk, and I think if we improve the equity, we would improve safety and security of our schools, and I think we'll have less of an issue because kids will be more engaged in school. And let me give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're going to a school like Cherry Creek or Cherokee Trails, and we know who usually the big percentage of the population of right. So let's say this little white kid, his name is Timmy. First day as a freshman, right? His dad drops him off in his BMW. Little Timmy gets out of the BMW and looks around, and he's at Cherry Creek, and he's got his little braces, little white kid, little rosy cheeks, little backpack, flip flops, and he's looking around and he's saying, 4 years from now, I'm going to graduate from here, and I'm going to go to college, or I'm going to go work for Daddy's company. And so when we look at a kid at our schools, at one of our schools in our neighborhoods, we call him Tyreek, right? Because, as you said, so Tyreek has to wake up 2 hours early, right? Because he's riding the bus, either the school bus or the RTD. So he's tired. He hasn't eaten breakfast. He's hungry. So when he sets foot on the campus for the first day as a freshman, he's looking around, and his thoughts are a little bit different. He's like, I hope none of these cats up here is trying to press me and jump me, right? I'm hungry. My cell phone might be getting cut off, so I'm stressing about that. Mm-hmm. Mom or dad hasn't been home in days because they're strung out. Big brother's in a gang, and he's either shot or in jail. Nowhere did I say anything about what this kid might be thinking 4 years from now. Our kids are trying to make it through the day. So, the question is, how can we improve the equity for these kids? Because when I'll give you an example of the Cherry Creek Innovation School. When they have access to something like that, a pathway school that has 70 or 80 pathway programs in it, and every kid in the Cherry Creek, that goes to high school has access to go to that school, and some of our schools in our community don't have libraries, and it's 100 degrees in the classrooms. What should we expect from our kids? What should we expect from the kids in the Denver Public Schools?
I mean, I think we're getting exactly what we should expect, right? I mean, and it's interesting, the white kids have a 4-year vision of their life, and the black kids have a 4-hour vision, right? I just have to make it to this part. I just have to work to get home. So how do you improve equity? Well, it's going to take a little bit of sacrifice. And I think, and I look all the way around, people don't like to sacrifice a little bit. And I understand that we've sacrificed so much, but I mean, this is what we've gotten based on the sacrifice that we've made. If we want to make a bigger change, we have to make some more sacrifice. That's going to mean less NFL, less, MLB, less NBA, less TV time, less outside the home extracurricular activities for the free time that we have, maybe less sleep from working the jobs, and more investment into our kids, right? It's going to have to require us to snatch the electronics from our kids and to actually put that human time, that one-on-one time in with our kids to do that soul nurturing part. It's going to also take some time to maybe type off a paragraph email to your elected official, right? Like, always use the social media doesn't cut it. Use the official ways of documentation or official ways of communication to document your interaction with your elected officials. Black people, are the number one demographic that supports the Democratic Party overwhelmingly.
Right.
We will always hear we are taken for granted. And I cannot push back and say that we aren't. We are taken for granted. Why are we taken for granted? Because we don't make strong asks and we don't follow through with it, right? Like, it's growing up, the whole thing of, all right, stop doing that or this is going to happen. I would like test the fence a few times. But once I knew that it would happen, that, as my mom say, Mr. Persuader would show up because I did not do what she asked me to do, I understood that there are consequences to not doing. And I don't believe, the Republican Party is not even a viable option right now as it relates to Black people moving us out of this condition closer towards equity. It's just not. But I don't believe that we have shown the Democratic Party consequences for them only using us as a pawn.
Right, and I agree, and you know, that's just one of the things we've been kind of innately trained was to vote Democrat, you know, and they haven't earned our votes here in recently, well, I can go 20, 30 years down the line. They really haven't earned our votes. We just give it to them because the other guys are really on the really crazy, it seems like. So you just talked about equity, right? And you just talked about what we have to do to make situations for our kids better in our schools, right? And I thought it was really ironic that you just mentioned what we have to do in our community in terms of parents and the guardians and the people in this community to make sure that our kids have what they. When are we going to hold the schools accountable, right? Because that's ultimately where we're losing. You know, yes, we have parents that need to do a better job in being parents and parenting, but if schools offered more for our young people to maybe, you know, interact and stay in school, like, and I can go back to the Cherry Creek and Innovation School because those kids can go in the morning or in the afternoon, and they're like 70 pathway programs, everything from automotive to they have a Learjet inside the school where the kids can work on as an airline mechanic, you know, a health clinic, culinary, and these are things that, you know, we could really use for our schools, but we don't have anything like that, and they roll out this innovation term. Right, and then they give us a couple buildings here and there, but it's nothing like these kids at Cherry Creek can access. How can we get something like that for our kids?
Well, why do I have to do? Okay, if it was me, if I was the one in control, why would I have to do that? If you're not asking, if you're not demanding, if you're not making me do it, and what looks like me is doing perfectly fine, why do I care? Why would I have to do it? And so this is what I'm saying, like, there is a onus, there's a part of the responsibility that some of the onus is placed back on the individual, the 18 plus citizen that's able to vote, the 18 plus resident that is able to participate in a display of democracy, that has a responsibility to make sure that, one, we elect the proper people in there to do that, and that those who are in are actually remembering the voices of the marginalized. Right. And if we don't engage, there's no incentive, there's no motivation outside the goodness of these people's heart. There's really no way to push that. And then sometimes it's like, I don't feel like it as an elected official, right? So because I don't feel like it, and I don't have to worry about these people reaching out to me, or they might be mad at social media, but what am I going to do? I'm not going to be on social media. I'll turn my notifications off, or I can just ignore it, and it's not that big of a deal. So when people who know the pathways and they direct you to do X, Y, Z, do it, right? Like, and people are like, well, we've been doing this for X number of time. And I'm like, okay, listen. If I've had a gym membership for 10 years and the only time I go to the gym is twice a month, I can't say that the gym doesn't work. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have to take responsibility and say, I have not been doing what it takes to utilize the system of the gym to get the results that I want to get. And I have to realize that just going to the gym is only one aspect. I can't be eating the sugary and the sweet foods all the time and 12 hours a day, 18 hours a day, and expect to get the results that I want. This is the sacrifice that I'm talking about.
Definitely. And I mean, I think we all need to make some sacrifices. I also think that Denver Public Schools really needs to do a better job of making these schools equitable and providing some of the programs and some of the resources that they have at their other schools in more affluent neighborhoods coming our way. But we're gonna change directions, and you've been mentioning politics here these last couple answers. So let's get into that. School board, which has been volatile, seems like these past couple meetings. Tell us what's going on with the Denver Public Schools school board. Why are there so many issues? Why is there so much infighting? I mean, what is going on?
All right. So and I always forgot when I go on these type of things, as we're in September and cuffing season's approaching, I got to make it clear. I am single and I need to be booed up. I'm available for that. So I forgot to do that at the headline of this. But yes, we're going to talk about this. Unshameless plug. But listen, again, we're back at the personality issues, right? It is egos. I don't care what elected official it is. There is an amount of ego. There is some type of narcissism. And when those things become overly grown, that's when we start to have the problems. In my honest opinion, I think that there's a lot of stuff going on. I don't think that leadership is prepared for leadership. I don't think the president was actually prepared for the presidency of DPS. She only wanted to be president once Ayante Tay Anderson stated that he was going to run for president because his initial desire to run for vice president was messed up by outside forces, Lisa Calderon, of manipulating people. And I mean, I guess this is a feminist push to push Tay out of position of leadership. So Tay came up with a different plan of running for president, talked to Sochi. Sochi said, well, if you're going to run for president, I want to run for president, which was odd to me because Tay, Carey, and Scott Balderman are the three board members with the most seniority or most board experience that serve on the board right now. So that's how we got the dysfunction of a dysfunctional president that wasn't quite ready to lead. And then they tried to hide their inadequacies or their deficiencies by saying that Tay Anderson and Scott Esserman were misogynistic and anti-Latina. So then we get into this whole big ass mess because I know both of the gentlemen are my friends, and I get involved and their respective communities are like, that's not the case. That's not their character. And then that's how we get into all this mess. Now, while this mess is going on and the board is fighting, guess who's unsupervised? The superintendent, the administration, right?
It's a big old,
this big ass, this smoke screen, this big old mess to stop it, right?
We'll never get out of it. We'll never get out of it.
And we need to hold the superintendent and the administration accountable. And that's where we're slipping up. So people, practice your first civics duty and send the superintendent, Dr. Alex Marrero, phone calls, emails, reach out to them, reach out to your school principals, use the email. Documentation is king or queen, ruling, that is supreme. Yes. So, sorry, man.
We've come to the end of the time. We really do appreciate you, man. There's so much you knew. There's so much I want to ask you. So we're going to definitely have to get you back. Won't do it next week. We're gonna let you have a weekend off. So, but we do
definitely have to
you,
come back because as we prepare, you're going to get your ballots October 17th or after October 17th, you'll get your ballot. It's so important. I'm flat out partisan right now, straight Democrat. We can't afford any of this old crackerjack logic as it relates to something else. Democrat that way. And then we have to talk about the upcoming Denver City Council municipal races next year.
We'll get you back real soon. HASHIM the Den.
And I'm single, y'all.
Hey, Tap in. Get him, please. He needs it, man. He deserves it, man. He's a good guy. One of my favorite people here in the city, man. Thank you so much for joining us
Thank
today.
you. Y'all stay safe.
All right, man. Man, definitely tap in with Hashim Nadim. His name is Hashim Coates, but I call him Hashim Nadim. A wealth of knowledge about the political scene here, the candidates, the beefs, and all those things. We're gonna take a quick break. We got Ask the Head, or the Heads. The Head says on the other side. Stay tuned. Our network. And we're back. Welcome back, City and County, with your boy Big J. Season premiere right here on the AHRR Network. I also want to give a shout out to all the great programs. The Sports Blog, my boy M. Goodnight, Robbie the Rocket. Y'all make sure y'all check that out every Thursday in the Sports Blog. Wealth of knowledge, betting advice, whatever you want to know, right here, our network on Thursdays at 6 p.m. We got Sheen. So, she's doing her show, What's Good in the Hood. They're just, Udia. There's a lot of dope things right here on this network. So make sure you stay tuned and check it all out. We got The Head Says, and they hate that right now. They hate that, but the head is the all-seeing, all-knowing spiritual body of the show. And after every guest goes off, we're going to ask the head a question, based on the conversation that we had today. And the question that we have for the head today is, will the DPS ever take the safety and security of our students seriously, and will they provide the proper resources and programs for our kids to thrive? Not just get by, but thrive. So let's ask the head. All-seeing, all-knowing, wonderful head. Will the DPS ever take our children's safety and security serious? And will they provide the programs and resources that our children need to truly be successful here in this country? And the head is saying, in his infinite handsome, the head is very handsome. I must say that right now, but he's communicating with me right now. And the head is saying, okay, yes, head, yes. The answer to that question is no. Our kids will not be safe. They will not be secure. We will not provide them with the education and the resources and the programs that they will need to thrive. Not right now. Not until we make wholesale changes in politics, in the school board, and everywhere, that people aren't. The safety and education of our kids is not paramount to them, and we need to remove those people from office. That needs to be everybody's number one running point, is we're going to improve education, schools, and safety for our kids, period. Until we do, we're going to be, facing some of the same things that we're doing right now with youth violence, low graduation rates, and our kids definitely not being all they can be. So we want to thank everybody. We want to thank Hashim the Dim. I want to thank my man Damo for taking care of me today. Tux, wherever he's at, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, they've done a great job with our network, man. I mean, this is a magical place. It's wonderful. They do a great job. So make sure you stay tuned. More programming right here on our network coming up. You've been watching City and County with your boy Big J. Next week, we got another great guest right here at 11 a.m. Sunday morning on the AHRR Network. For the head and myself, y'all stay tuned.